One thing I'm going to show you for future use, see this, it's leftover ABS scrap, and what I'm doing is I'm just using me cutters to make them into little bits. And what it is, when it comes to construction, there's going to be at the front some grooves, funny little grooves, where we'll be sticking plastic up against it, but we don't really too much void behind it. And what we're making here is a thing called mixture. I learnt this from the days in making model boats, but you need to make this in advance to give it a time to break down. And what it basically is, you use plastic weld and some off scraps chopped up, and you can paint it on with a brush into a groove, so it roughly fills it up, and then force the bit of plastic in over the top you want for strength, and you plastic weld that in place, and it will end up a solid behind. So all you do is put some plastic in. That's just the starter amount, if you could look, and we'll leave that. And the next video you'll see that all broken down into liquid plastic. Now those bits of plastic I put in with some plastic weld. There you go, it's turned into liquid plastic. So that's all ready for use. Now I've had a rethink with the cab, so in this stage what I've decided, I'm making it over complex, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to square it off here, the roof, and make the roof flatter so it's easier to work out, and then it will line up with the front, because whatever happens the front's going to line up and eventually that will be filed off to a better angle. The thing is, I was making it too complex, I'll be truthful, in my design, because when I re-looked at it, even though it looks it's shaped, it's really straight here and not angled. So I'm going to cut this off all around, and then I'll be happier with it, because then I can make, well, what I've decided is to make a drop-in roof and use magnets, because I thought, like the Matador, it's too hard to make a removable interior from below, so it's easier to get in from the top. So that's the next stage, is chopping all that down. So there we go, I've re-trimmed it, so now the roof is square. The side windows are smaller depth wise to the front windows, but they will still probably have stuff added. So like I said, this changes all the way. That's where the door jamb is, and then we've got to work it out across here afterwards, and those lines will be scored in to represent. So the next thing is now to cut these windows out carefully, and we might almost be ready for some assembly. Now the way I cut windows out is I drill 4 3mm holes in the corners on a square one, and then I score around the outside a lot, and then I reduce the material in the middle, and then even though these have been snapped to the hole, and that's the reason you put the hole so it can't split any further, I've run a back saw just through the corners so they're completely independent of each other for when you start breaking them out, so you can keep it in shape. When I break it out, I'm going to break the top, the side, the inner and the bottom last, because that is the strongest part. There you go. To finish those last bits of plastic took me a minute. The preparation to get to this stage, that took 15 minutes. But the thing is, against the Matador, this will be stronger, because the Matador I made it in parts, where this is one piece. Whoops. It does make it harder to cut, but like I said, strength is everything. there you go. In the video bit you just seen, I've sped it up and shows me drilling the holes, marking heavily around the edge, both directions, and then scoring in, and then putting some rectangles and then drilling a hole. I use a hand step drill, and then you slowly break it out. I use thin nose pliers and slowly start cracking the lines until you get down to the last piece. Then back saw in the corners just to make sure they're loose, and then like I said, the weakest point of the frame, that was done in the vise. So because if any point it's weak is there at the moment, so if you break those out clamped in the vise, you're not going to damage anywhere. And then the other two, of course, they're on thicker plastic, they're fine. Well, that's two sides, and the cab windows now cut out. Now, with a flat sort of pointed file and a ruler, I've scored, just need to clean it up, a line across here, a line up here for the door, and a little line down the front to give us the door, how it would be, and that's where the panel lines are. Hence you have to sometimes put a bit of extra plastic behind because you have weakened it scoring these lines, because these are literally brake lines now. Now I've got to try and get it together and work out which way to glue from. Back here somewhere. Like so, and probably get the back ones on first. The thing is, this is the squarest point, so I think it's always better to start from a square, and we'll be adding plastic on the inside. But I've got to prep some strips to do that. But this is as far as it goes with this video.